The focus of this video lesson is multi-step equations with variables on both sides. Example 1. 5x plus 6 is equal to 2x plus 24. Now, just like before, our objective is to isolate the variable x. But in this case, we have x's on both sides of the equal sign. In order to get x isolated, we must get all of the x's on one side of the equation. Generally, it is best practice to move the x's from the side that has the smaller number of x's. So I notice on the left-hand side, there are 5 x's, and then on the right-hand side of the equal, there are 2 x's. So I'm going to remove the 2 x's from the right-hand side, but in doing so, I must also remove 2 x's from the left-hand side of the equation to maintain balance. On the right-hand side, 2x minus 2x is 0. On the left-hand side, 5x minus 2x is 3x. Bringing down the rest of the equation, we get 3x plus 6 is equal to 24. Now this looks like the equations we solved last week. 3x plus 6 is equal to 24. Remember, our objective is to reverse order of operations. So first we ask ourselves, is there any addition or subtraction? And on the left-hand side, we see a plus 6. So we want to remove plus 6 by doing the opposite, which is minus 6. But what we do on one side of the equation, we must do on the other. On the left-hand side, we get 6 minus 6, or 0. And on the right-hand side, we get 24 minus 6, or 18. Bringing everything down, this becomes 3x is equal to 18. The next thing we ask ourselves is, do we have any multiplication or division with the variable x? And we do. Remember, when a number touches a letter, it means multiply. So on the left-hand side with the x, we have times 3. And the opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. So we'll divide both sides of the equation by 3. Then on the left-hand side, we have 3 divided by 3, or 1. So they cancel, leaving us with 1x, or just x. On the right-hand side, we have 18 divided by 3, or 6. So in this case, x is 6. All right, let's take a look at example 2. 2a minus 8 is equal to 12 minus 3a. Once again, our objective is to isolate the variable a. In this case, we notice we have a on both sides of the equal sign, just as before. In order to get a by itself, we must move either the 2a or the negative 3a so that they are together. Remember, the goal is to get them together by moving the one that is smaller. The smaller of them is negative 3a, so we will add 3a to both sides of the equation. On the right-hand side, negative 3a plus 3a is 0. On the left-hand side, 2a plus 3a is 5a. So we have 5a minus 8 is equal to 12. Now it's just a two-step equation like before. Remember, we reverse order of operations. Do we have any addition or subtraction that needs to be removed? We do. Minus 8. The opposite or inverse of subtracting 8 is adding 8. So we add 8 to both sides of the equation. On the left-hand side, that gives us negative 8 plus 8, or 0. On the right-hand side, 12 plus 8, or 20. Now we have 5 times a is equal to 20. Remember, our objective is to isolate the a. A currently has a 5 being multiplied to it. The opposite of multiplying by 5 is dividing by 5. We divide both sides of this equation by 5. On the left, 5 divided by 5 is 1, or 1a, or a, and on the right, 20 divided by 5 is 4. So a is 4. Now it's your turn to try. Pause the video and give both of these problems a try. Check in with a neighbor or with the teacher to verify you did it correctly. Now, let's take a look at a couple that are a little bit more complicated. Here's another example. 8x plus 7 minus 3x is equal to 6x plus 19 minus 4x. In this situation, Not only do we have x's on both sides of the equation, we also have like terms on both sides of the equation. In order to simplify this and make it look like the problems we saw from before, the first step will always be to combine all like terms on each side of the equation before moving anything. So we look solely on the left side of the equation. Right now on the left side, we definitely see like terms. We see that the 8x and the minus 3x are like because they both have the variable x. So we'll go ahead and combine those into one. 8x's minus 3x's means we have 5x on the left-hand side, and then we have the 7 constant. On the right-hand side, we have 6x and minus 4x. Those are also like terms. But note that the like terms on the right will not automatically be combined with those on the left. 6x minus 4x is 2x, and then we have our constant 19. This gives us 5x from the 8x and the negative 3x, and then 2x from the 6x minus 4x, and then of course our constants plus 7 and plus 19. Now this equation looks like the ones we did before. Remember, our objective is to isolate the variable x, meaning we need to get x's to just one side of the equation. We identify which side of the equation has the least number of x's, and in this case, that's the right-hand side. So we'd like to remove the minus 2x, but what we do on one side, we must do on the other. On the right, 2x minus 2x becomes 0. On the left, 5x minus 2x is 3x. Bringing everything else down, this becomes 3x plus 7 is equal to 19. Now it's just a two-step equation. Let's reverse order of operations. Do we have any addition or subtraction that needs to be removed? We do. The opposite of plus 7 is minus 7. So we subtract 7 from both sides of the equation. On the left, they cancel. On the right, we get 19 minus 7, or 12. Bringing down the 3x and equals, we have 3 times x is equal to 12. Do we have any multiplication or division that needs to be removed? We do. We have 3 times x is 12. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. We'll divide both sides of this equation by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, or 1x, or just x, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So x is 4. Go ahead and give this one a try. Remember, combine like terms before you move variables from one side to another. Pause the video, give it a try. Check in with a neighbor to see if you did it correctly, or with a teacher. One more example today. Here we have 28 minus 2 times 3x plus 4 is equal to 2 times 2x plus 5 minus 6. Now once again, we do notice that we have variables on both sides of the equation, but we also notice that we have distributive property on both sides. In this case, we must clean up or distribute on either side or on both sides of the equation before trying to move variables. Now, one common mistake students make is they try to subtract 28 and 2 before distributing. Note, in mathematics, when simplifying expressions, we must follow order of operations. So, we ask ourselves, do we subtract first or do we multiply first? When simplifying, we go in this direction. So we know that multiplication and division comes before addition and subtraction. So we must distribute that negative 2. Note the negative belongs with the 2, even though we normally read it as minus, and we must distribute the 2 with the x and 5. Also note that the 2 only gets distributed to those parts, those terms inside the parentheses. Everything else will come down. So we have here negative 2 times 3x, or negative 6x, and negative 2 times 4, or negative 8. And then on the right, we have 2 times x, or 2x, and 2 times 5. So this becomes 28 minus 6x minus 8 is equal to 2x plus 10 minus 6. Note that this negative had to get distributed, hence both of these became minus. Now it looks like the one we did before. First thing we should identify is, are there any like terms on either side of the equation? We notice that on the left we have a 28 and a minus 8. We know these are like terms because neither of them has the variable x. 28 minus 8 is 20. So we know on the left-hand side we have negative 6x and we have a positive 20. On the right-hand side, we also see that we have like terms. We have a plus 10, and we have a minus 6. And we know that 10 minus 6 is 4. So we notice here that our like terms combined give us this new simplified version of the equation. Negative 6x plus 20 is equal to 2x plus 4. And note that the sign in front of the 6x came down with it. And this is very important to remember. Now it looks like the ones we did before. Remember, our objective is to get the variables by themselves. So we'd like to move the number of x's that is smaller. We look on the left, we have a negative 6x. We look on the right, we have a positive 2x. Let's move the smaller, that is, the negative 6x. The opposite of negative 6x is plus 6x. So we'll go ahead and add that on both sides of the equation. Note that I line up the 6x with the 2x because they are like terms. On the left-hand side, negative 6x plus 6x is 0. On the right, 2x plus 6x is 8x. Bringing everything down, we get 20 is equal to 8x plus 4. Once again, we'd like to isolate our variable x. On the same side of the equation, with the x, we have a times 8 and a plus 4. Remember, when solving equations, we reverse order of operations. Do we have any addition or subtraction that needs to be removed? We do. The opposite of plus 4 is minus 4, so we subtract 4 from both sides of the equation. On the right-hand side, 4 and minus 4 cancel out. On the left, 20 minus 4 is 16, so we have 16 is equal to 8x. We'd like to get x by itself. X is currently being multiplied by 8. The opposite of multiply is divide, so we divide both sides of this equation by 8. On the right, we have 8 divided by 8, or 1x. And on the left, 16 divided by 8, or 2. So x is equal to 2. All right, now it's your turn to try one more. We have 3 times x plus 3 plus 4x is equal to 15 minus 2x plus 3. Remember to simplify both sides of the equation before we try to move anything. Pause the video, give it a try. Check in with a neighbor or the teacher